I've got the webcam going. We're gonna do a little video about the pyramids. Okay, I think that's gonna work out. Let me just continue here. I'm gonna go back to these pictures. Now this is the top of the Great Pyramid. The Khufu Pyramid, or the Giza Pyramid, the Great Pyramid, the tallest. And as you can see, this is the very top of it. And when you look at it, I'm going to show you a couple shots here. It's really a mess. It's not clean lines like you might think. And those are not changed by man. That's the way they had been. That's the original configuration, but the casing stones have been pulled off. Now the ones at the top, those have been moved around a little bit. I'm sure a couple of layers were pulled off the top. People going up there and throwing the stones off the top over the years. They say after an earthquake in 1300, people started to be able to take the casing stones off. When you look at this picture, by the way, this is from Drone Snap. I got it as a screenshot from their video. And there's one more here. You can really see how chaotic. Look at the edge there. And let me zoom in so we don't have to look at the rest of the city. But look how chaotic that structure is. I mean, it's still clear that there's a pyramid and there's a corner, an edge, but at the same time, it was really the casting stones that brought the precision in to the final pyramid. This guy climbed to the top. You see that stone that he's on. I mean, he's literally touching the next stone down with his... That stone isn't even a meter tall. I mean, I don't know, maybe I can't see, but maybe his foot is not touching that next part. But if you want to see how big that's the pyramid's core stone there. It looks like it's only an inch off the next one down. And you can see that he is sitting on a smaller one. There's larger pieces here, but these other stones look a little larger. But as far as the height goes, they're all about the same. And I think that's the key, is the stones had to be a certain height. And they kind of pieced them in without worrying about their width and their depth. There's a couple more people climbed up there. These stones are lower. Something was going on there. They carved those stones for some purpose, but that's the very top. I guess you can see where that guy was sitting over here. Some stones look bigger. Somebody wrote in Arabic. You can see people have written their initials everywhere. Good luck getting up there now. So that looks like the small one that guy was sitting on. And then the big one here, it's obviously a lot bigger. So you can see very clearly that these were not seamless. They definitely had gaps in them. And I think you see that all the way down the pyramid. It's not like the pyramid was finely sculpted like the casing stones on the third pyramid. You know, you can see there that it's really jagged. It's not like it was really high quality work. These pyramids were not perfectly seamless, where the bricks are butt up against each other, like the Peruvian, where you can't put a hair between the stones type of thing. I'm just curious if maybe man did mess this around a little bit, but it just seems to me it would be almost impossible, or there would be no point to do it unless there's a hole there that they're covering up. Here you can see all three pyramids, but this is the Giza, and this is the Quarry, and that is the Saqqara. The three pyramids had different types of casing stone. The Khufu pyramid does not have casing stones at the top, and you really only get a few near the bottom like this, but the Quarry casing stones are very clearly way up there. And as you can see, the thickness of it, how many layers of stones actually go down before you hit the actual core stone? That's the big question I have today. Now Saqqara, my big question about that is this style of masonry. You've got basically polygonal, not like in Peru, but it is polygonal. It's definitely polygonal masonry compared to the other types of stuff. But one of the things is that there's been more and more evidence that this is actually manufactured, and it's not actually carved stone that's been quarried. So ancient cements, ancient concretes, that's a big question that I have in my mind. We didn't get a big picture of the casing stone on the Pyramid of Giza except from that one picture, but what you can see is that it's, I think, a little more beautiful than this casing stone. I think the Giza pyramid probably had the more superior construction method. When you look at this, and this is one of the casing stones, when you look at how clean that is, how sharp that is, you don't really see that in the casing stones in the Quarry. Although we didn't get too close to those, it still just seems to me that those pieces are not as beautiful as these pieces. And then when it comes over here to the Menkaure, the Khafre pyramid for King Khafre, and by the way, I'm naming it after the kings, but that doesn't mean I believe that they were specifically built for the kings. If we look at this Khafre pyramid, this is the second tallest. Apparently it's built on a higher plateau, so it appears to be taller than the Great Pyramid. But the casing stones are still at the top, and I'll take a look at those in a second. But before we do, I want to talk about the third pyramid, the Menkaure pyramid. That also has casing stones along the bottom edge, but those casing stones are quite different. We're going through and you can see the casing stones here. Let me zoom into that so you can see the casing stones that still exist on the third pyramid. We're questioning whether or not this was even, was this imitation stonework? Was it possible to soften stone and create it? And why is it flat here? It seems like this was almost put in later. You look at these pieces of stone and they're almost organic looking, but you do see a lot of similarities with the Peruvian, the knobs. They're on this one too. So were those knobs a product of some type of man-made creation process? There's the word I was looking for. Hanan Pacha is the type of Incan, or in Peru. I don't even want to label it as Incan, but the type of construction method used. It seems like it's up to 12,000 years old, and anything older. Oh, actually, no, Hanan Pacha is the older one. See, I'm always mixed up. I'm mixed up. These casting stones have fallen off the pyramid or been taken off the pyramid due to construction builders who wanted to use the materials in their own new construction projects. I was just reading about a few of those projects, but I didn't want to get too involved in where the stones went. But I do think that they are bad people for taking those stones and basically stripping the pyramid of their casing. The way these stones fell off, you can see that here we have, it extends beyond, so there is not a symmetrical thing here. And these are the casing stones that were above that. The actual pyramid core stones are still there, as they are on the other pyramids. This isn't a very good picture of the Giza pyramid, which has 8 sides, not 4. You can kind of see the center line right there. And it's actually questionable whether or not that would have been visible with the casing on it, since I believe that the casing was put in a way that was kind of like mortar. Point is that the pyramid of Menkaure, which is down here on the bottom left, has casing stones that are very, very similar to the casing, the walls of the Peruvian Machu Picchu and other places. Okay, I wanted to take a look at the diagrams for each of the pyramids and where the structure had a center, and it seems like this says have a center. I don't know why this is a little bit off. You know, maybe they discovered that it wasn't perfect. Maybe the people who built the pyramids didn't need it to be perfect. And another thing is maybe the people who built the pyramids didn't necessarily build the tunnels. As you can see here, this is a book cover. Tomb building in the Pyramid Age. Pyramidion. Zoom in here, and what do you see? You see basically, I mean, can you imagine men going up there and tearing into the middle of this field? That's not what's happening here. What you see is some type of destruction, cataclysmic, possibly. Just an earthquake? Maybe. What you see is bad design in a pyramid. To be honest, why is it falling apart? It's old. I think it's older than 4,000 years. And when you look at this pyramid, I think these pre-existing pyramids were around when the Egyptians kind of said, hey, these would be a great place to be buried. Let's take these over. And it turned that whole neighborhood into the necropolis where all the bodies were being buried. But when you look at the difference between these casting stones and the other ones, you can see these are carved. The outside is white limestone. When you look at that, it looks like the 9/11 airplane crash. Things tearing apart. Man didn't do that. They're trying to get something that they can work with. There's nothing to work with there. There's no construction material that you could actually take. They just took the stuff that came off the front. It looks like a bad cement job. And when you get to the very top, you can see some of the boulders are moved around. This is not the pyramid people climb. This is dangerous. If you climb this, you need to use ropes. The other pyramid you can climb without any ropes, but nobody climbs up here. And this stone moved from the top, barely moved. I mean, you still have quite a few. I'm sure people climbed up there and threw some of the stones off the top. I wouldn't feel comfortable up there trying to retrieve stones from the top. Here you can see where the material between the core pyramid and the outer shell, you see these uprights. Did man go in there and put these uprights there? Also, I think after looking at this, you don't see a polygonal shape here. You have a very specific rectangular direction. I see a few that make me question that, but I feel like the majority of what I'm looking at here is not polygonal. You can see this is a casing stone, and this is where it just literally broke off. I mean, is that man chipped that off? No. I think a cataclysmic event chipped that off. You got these uprights holding flat level that create layers. So those uprights were placed within the blocks of the core, and then there's some type of a filler, like a mortar. I mean, it almost looks like there's a liquid cement mortar poured in there to create the casting stones. Now, I'm not saying that I believe that, but it almost looks like there was. And there's so much debris. When you look at these, when you look at that up there, you can see it looks like debris, like if you're taking the plaster off the wall. Once you get beyond the nice white plaster, you've got a bunch of cement and crap before you get down to the foundation wood, or depending on what you're tearing apart. This is just another picture of the top of that same Quarry pyramid. You know, you notice these corners all have a little chip. Is that because of man climbing up there to get to the top? Or is that, I mean, why would the chip be in the same exact place on every single one? And here, do you think man went and did that? Why would a man climb up there when they could go lower? I believe that this is some kind of a cataclysmic damage pattern. Earthquake, possibly. I mean, you can see that these look like someone really shuffled them around. Going on, I just have about 10 or 15 pictures here. I guess I'm done looking at this one for now. But it also kind of shows a symmetrical, non-polygonal masonry effect. Here's that one area again. We can look at it a little closer. I got a bunch of the same pictures. And this one is nice because it's pretty high res. But here you can see what almost looks like, I mean, it's so tight that they stacked that in there like that. So tight, but broken off. Man didn't do that. Man didn't do that. No man went in there. These are the core stones, so you're not seeing them fall off. Nobody wants them. They don't have flat edges. But then when you get the casing's nice and flat, so people want that for their construction project. You've got this upright that's clearly not part of the core, but it's also not a casing stone. So it's part of the filler and debris that, here's another one that supports casing stones. This is a casing stone support pillar. And these are the corners of the raw with no casing. And people have mentioned, yeah, why is this area so clean while the other part is not clean down below? You can see that here, there's this whole area that's nice and clean. We can zoom in and take a look at it, and you can see some people think it's a different construction technique, but no, I don't think so. I think that those are the core stones. You've got the debris that's between the casing stones and the core stones, and that's basically what you have here is that debris filler. Nobody wanted it. I don't know why it's so clean here. Maybe there was a part where the construction technique was different and it fell apart. This debris stuck with it. You can see the core stones underneath, but at the same time you've got a lot of debris and possibly full casing stones in a couple places. It looks like you might have the full stone. This place is a mess. It looks like a war zone. And the real pyramid is not what you see today. Moving on, there's a couple more. This kind of shows that difference. And I did want to look at this edge. Let's look at this one. This edge shows the difference between the distance between the outer corner and the inner edge of the core stones of this pyramid. And then between that debris, that edge, you see a lot of those uprights over there. This is the east side. This is the south side. Look at that upright right there. That upright goes like 1, 2, 3 layers of the pyramid. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, it looks like it's, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. That upright is very big. Now, nobody went and put these uprights in there to keep this from falling apart? That's the way it is. That's 4,000 years old right there. You can see the uprights all throughout there. Those uprights might have been a target. People wanted the uprights. I think the lower debris, you don't see the uprights. Let me zoom out of here. So this was a really thick outer layer. It wasn't just like one layer of stone. It was a whole separate project to put these casting stones on this pyramid. And we don't know where the casting stones are on the Khufu pyramid. I mean, we know that they were taken away. But we can see the casting stones at the top of the Khafra. There's the Khufu. There's no casting stones. There's a few at the bottom. Those casting stones, I wouldn't want those. Those look nasty to me. They don't look good. And it looks like there really was an earthquake that caused that. I mean, it just looks like a pattern, a ripple pattern of that type of a shock, not man-made. Now here we have the Sphinx from 1923, Pyramids from the Air. This is a screenshot of a video that was taken. I would assume that this was not taken from the air, but it is taken before the Sphinx was uncovered. The paws are still covered. The dream steel is still covered, but what's not covered is the neck. If you look at the Sphinx today, you won't see this neck. You will see supports on the left and the right, and you won't see the edge of the limestone and its weathered lines that go almost horizontally, but they kind of slant. And those lines are a clear, nice, light limestone, but when you look at the face, you see very clearly that it's a completely different material. Now, it is decaying off the limestone. The limestone is visible through this ancient cement. I believe that the Sphinx formerly was a lion, and its head probably collapsed and fell off, and then they put this on there. Or the person was so bold that he cut the lion's face off to put his own face. I think it looks like Khafre. So I think that it could have been done at the time King Caffrey was alive. I think it looks like him. So if people who say that's not King Caffrey, I would be willing to look into it a little closer. Some people say the nose. Well, this thing doesn't even have a nose. So how can we talk about the nose? And here you can see the modern day supports that have been put under the repair to the headdress. Is that a bird at the top? I think there's a bird. It looks like a bird. That's not part of the sculpture. Okay, that's obviously a time waster. You can see that here. You can see my other video for that. This is a pretty clean picture. I kind of wonder if it's even real sometimes when I see that, especially this part right here. That right there, is that real? Anyways, it looks like a Photoshop job, but that's a pretty clear shot of the pyramid, and you can see the difference, and you can see this edge, and the big difference there is between the actual core blocks and the outer shell, which fell off. 1,300 years. You think that people are going to climb up there and take all those stones for their own projects in Cairo? Apparently, there are plenty of examples that can be traced. I was reading about that on Wikipedia. I think I'm done here. And that's it. No more? That's it. Okay, well, this is a half hour now, and I think we're done. I just wanted to talk about this stuff, and I'm going to have to edit it, so it's not going to be a half hour. This is, we've got the webcam on, so you can see me. And there you go. I think I'm done talking about all this. Let me just go through it one more time, see if there's anything I'm missing. So that's the beginning. There were a lot of videos. There's a lot of information that I didn't include. I just wanted to get a quick look at the 3 different casing stones and talk about the possible construction techniques. There you go. Have a good one. And have a great, nice May. It's wonderful. It's nice, and the weather's not too hot. The weather's not too cold. It's a beautiful weather right now. And get out and enjoy it. Don't sit in front of the computer all day long like me. Trust me, it's not healthy. Bye-bye.